well, pretty productive, I would say. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody, to me doing the thing. Every week we do it. It is called Gazing of the Navel of the Week. No, Weekly Navel Gazing, where we talk about all the books I read last week and all the books I plan to read this week and all the videos I made last week and what I plan to do this week, and it usually kind of descends into all kinds of rambling. So, without further ado, let's talk about books. And I did read some of them. In fact, I did read, or I finished or completely read The Conscious Mind in Search of a Fundamental Theory by David J. Chalmers, which is a book on, well, consciousness. And it's good. It is, however, academic philosophy, so it can be somewhat, daunting to read. Luckily, I have read stuff like that in the past, so I'm okay with it. One fun bit, though, that I just really enjoy is that even with, like, academic philosophy that is very serious and heavy on, like, theoretical terminology and so forth, you can always say a lot and learn a lot about the person writing that, about the philosopher, in what they pick as examples. In this case, most of the examples involve kangaroos, wombats, and koalas, which is, a bit of a hint where David Chalmers might be from, right? And it's just, like, really funny to me to read that in that regard. But yeah. Good book if you're interested in the theory of consciousness, I would argue. Then I did read The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Navel, and I enjoyed it. It's a really good book, and maybe you should read it as well. It is, of course, a sort of a horror story based on and around and retelling-ish sort of the Horror at Red Hook by H.P. Lovecraft, which is possibly one of his worst stories, and Navel takes it and does interesting things with it. I really enjoyed reading it. I have some issues with some bits and pieces, but, it's a really good story, is what I'm saying. And I finally read it. Britain put me up to it, like, months and months and months ago, and then I kind of forgot about it. And what with the Buffalo Hunter and the video, and Anna said in the comments, hey, there's a video with, Victor Navel and Stephen Graham Jones talking about stuff, and I'm like, right, I should really read Ballad of Black Tom. I kind of forgot about that, so I did it. And, good book. Then I did read More Money Than God, Hedge Funds and the Making of a New American Elite by Sebastian Mallaby, and that book sucks in a lot of ways. It's a book about hedge funds, and I do now know a lot more about the history of hedge funds, and yeah, I'm happy with that level of, like, knowledge, that it worked in that regard. But there is a thing going on with writers of sort of economic history and so forth, that for whatever reason, the people that are somewhat pro-capitalist are incredibly naive and weirdly blasé about all kinds of bullshit. In this regard, I don't know what's going on there. It's like this book ends with a plea that what will absolutely help to avoid further financial crisis is to put more investment and give more power to hedge funds and regulate them even less, because clearly that will work wonders. It also very much has a perfect sentence where it says, like, the resistance against Hitler proved to be more romantic than practical, which, well, fuck you, Sebastian Mallaby, for that kind of unnecessary sentence in there. I don't know, it's one of those things that I've come across recently with reading stuff on, the sort of like financial investment, whatever side of technology and so forth, as preparation for the AI video, that, like, people that are not leftists, that are not sort of, like, critical of capitalism, let's put it that way, are just, like, unable to do basic research or unable to question any assumptions. And I just don't know why that is the case, because in theory you should be able to be both pro-capitalist and still, able to see flaws and go, like, well, clearly we need to figure that one out. But I don't know. If you have recommendations for serious historians of, economy and so forth, that are on the side of capitalism in all kinds of ways, but are still able to sort of, like, do serious research and do actual, like, make serious claims, please let me know. I'm really genuinely wondering what's going on there, because, it should be possible, right? So yeah, I did read that, and then I did read, and I finished it, and it's fun, and it's really good, of course, Barefaced Messiah by Russell Miller, which is a biography of L. Ron Hubbard, and I highly recommend that book. Or if you just want to have like a slightly more entertaining side of that, then there's like, I guess it's a ton, like 10 or so episodes on the life of L. Ron Hubbard from the Behind the Bastards podcast that can be very funny, and crazy man. Obviously incredibly evil, caused insane amounts of damage and harm and pain, but also like you read that story and go like, holy shit, that level of insanity was possible. Definitely an entertaining biography. I can recommend that one. So that's what I read last week. What do I plan to read this week? Well, I don't know. I am definitely going to read Capitalism, A Global History by Sven Beckert, which is coming out tomorrow, and it's a massive book. It's 42 hours, I think, in audiobook, which it has the 800 plus page size, page count, and it is something that Beckert has been working on for years and years and years now, and it's going to be, I guess, a very good history of capitalism. Probably somewhat critical, so we'll have that. Beckert has previously worked on cotton and how, the cotton industry in general was sort of like essential in the development of globalization and stuff like that. He's very much like a eminent scholar on the subject, so I'm very much looking forward to reading that one. Beyond that, I don't know. I have no specific goals. I am going to read The Butcher of the Forest by Premi Mohamed, but that will happen in the beginning of December because I'm going to buddy read that one with Kat from Fairy Librarian, so that's going to happen next week. Until then, whatever else comes up. If you have suggestions, as always, let me know. Maybe I can squeeze something in. See, it actually worked with Ballad of Black Tom last week, so now you know. Now you have motivations, right? So that is going. That is sort of like the rough plan for now. Read those books. See if I can maybe finish or return at least to the Italian folk tales by Italo Calvino to sort of like get that one finally fully read at this point. We'll see. But if you, as I said, if you have suggestions, let me know. Videos. I did some. In fact, 3, which is a lot for me. I did make a video that is the end of year book tag. I don't necessarily do a lot of tags, but I was just like generally thinking about like what to do and what kind of books to read anyway, and then I came across that like end of year book tag. I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's just do that, and it was fun. I did it. That's that. Then I did record the next video on the next Ian MacDonald novel. In this case, it was of course Aries Express. Really good book. Highly enjoyed it. I'm happy with the video. Obviously, it's an Ian MacDonald book video. Those numbers wise are really really bad because. Well, it's Ian MacDonald's. Very few people who watch booktube know even about the man's writings, I guess. And if you go to the second book in a series, then the number of people interested in that is already going down. So I'm not surprised it does not exactly have a lot of numbers, but the goal here is to go through all of the Ian MacDonald's novels I know that I own, and that is going to happen no matter how many people watch those, because at the end of the day, I'm doing this for me and for those who are maybe interested. And as I mentioned before, I will do sort of like a general introduction. This is Ian MacDonald's. This is all the stuff that you could read, sort of like an introductory video. I'll do that. But since it's been so long that I read some of these books, in particular, River of Gods and Dervish House, for example, it's been a long, long time. So I'd rather reread them before I make any logged video on that subject. So I'll go and fill up the entire sort of playlist of those books and read all of those books or reread them at this point, and then I'll make the introductory video, and then that part has been dealt with. But that's the goal there, and as I said, I'm happy it worked. Next one will be River of Gods. Maybe this week, maybe next week. We'll find out. I'll try to sort of go through those over time, and that is sort of where I'm at with these Ian MacDonald videos. So maybe I'll read River of Gods this week. Who knows? The final video I made was a more like general one on what I've called the booktube drama cycle, because, you know, obviously it is somewhat inspired by the whole like Willow Talks Books situation of the last weeks, and but I tried to make it more general about some things that I've been struggling with and thinking about when it comes to people that talk about books on YouTube, and how people who think of themselves, including me from time to time, think of ourselves as booktubers or whatever, try to see booktube as separate from YouTube at large, and, you know, the overall aspects of being a content creator on a social media platform, and what kind of like economic but also emotional pressures come with that specific role. And it's an ongoing thing, and I tried to make another video. Well, I felt compelled to talk about it because it is frustrating to see these cycles of drama, basically. Sometimes it's drama, sometimes it's more sincere, but like someone does something, says something or whatever, then they get piled on. Sometimes the harassment is actually really severe, as in this case. Sometimes it's just, you know, a bunch of reaction videos where people go like, hey, this you're wrong, and then people feel, well, pressured and leave the platform, and then everyone else assigns blames, points fingers, and goes like, well, clearly we fucked up here, and then it takes a couple of months before we go back to that. And I thought, you know, what with all the reading I've been doing on digital technology, on how platforms and social media sort of are run, how that affects us over the last, you know, months, as, you know, part of the research for the artificial intelligence video, I figured I could, you know, maybe point out those sort of those elements a bit more, and that's what I did. Came out yesterday. So far, it's doing really well. I'm happy with that, yeah, that's the video there. Oh, and I obviously also hung out with Britton on his stream yesterday, which is, as always, a lot of fun. What about videos this week? Well, I am going to make a video on the Ballad of Black Tom, with obviously some references to Horror at Red Hook and all of that. I already have the thumbnail. It's going to be out tomorrow or on Wednesday. We'll see. But that is definitely coming this week. Now, should I make a video on, or should I manage to read River of Gods, then that will also happen this week. We'll find out. But beyond the Ballad of Black Tom, I don't have like any really concrete plans right now. The weather is really bad right now, so filming outside for the AI video will have to wait until the snow has melted. So yeah, we'll see. If I have other ideas, then we'll probably find out about it. I should try to make the monthly live stream this weekend. I just need to figure out at what day I can do that. We'll see. I'll set it up as soon as I have like a fixed plan, and probably make like a post on the community tab to make sure that everyone knows about it. But I'll do my best. But the weekend is sort of crowded with, you know, protests against the AFD stuff going on in like the next town over and things like that. So we'll find out. It's sort of a thing that I just don't know yet. And I'll try to keep working on the AI video. But as I said, like, we've had like the first snow over the last week. It snowed once. Now it snowed again last night, and it's grey and snowy outside, which, you know, winter, I guess, but it makes filming a bit more difficult in that regard. So I'll see what I can do. You know, it's one of those things. In general, I like snow. It's a good, you know, it's nice to have snow in winter. It feels appropriate, and it's getting less and less from year to year, what with, you know, climate change and all of that kind of stuff. But speaking as a blind person, walking around in snow is kind of difficult, because if you use like a stick to help navigate and find out where, you know, where there's, say, the sidewalk ends or all kinds of stuff, that works really well on like a regular street. It doesn't work well on snow, for example. So I'm always a bit torn when it comes to snow, because yeah, it's cool, right? You know, I like that. I have gone skiing in the past. Skiing is cool. taking a sled down a hillside is also really cool. Snow is fun, but it comes with some very specific sort of like pragmatic things that I then have to reckon with and try to overcome, and that's certainly the case right now. And kind of feeds into this sort of week, like we're getting close to the end of the year and things are becoming more, I know it cost me a lot more energy in general, and I started taking my ADHD meds again, so that's really good, and I can feel it already sort of like getting back to some more focus and so forth, but it's the end of the month. I'm basically having any like larger things that I need to buy, for example, will have to wait until next week when I have access to my bank account again, which is fine, right? I'll not starve until then, but it's certainly, I need to buy a new pair of pants, and turns out, that has to wait until next week, for example, and there's all of these small bits and pieces that I can, like, none of these is a big deal on its own, but it builds this sort of weird feeling of constantly having to push off or sort of like push ahead these different small bits and pieces, and hopefully not forgetting a single one until next week, and then hopefully getting rid of all of these things in one big go. And it's this weird, constant, small drain on my mental energy that I've been struggling with the entire week, and it's hopefully this week will be better. We'll find out. Going through what I read last week and going through the fact that I managed to record like 3 videos does make me feel less down in that regard, because there is that feeling oftentimes that I should make more videos and so forth, and that's to kind of call back to the whole like numbers thing that I mentioned in the video yesterday. Just simply between yesterday and today, the new video that I made made €1 in €1 in ad money. That's great, right? But suddenly that comes with that weird feeling like, holy shit, if that was like €1, what could I do to make more of that? And just to be clear, I'm not doing anything in that regard. I just wanted to bring that up to acknowledge it. How these small changes in numbers on the back end can be triggers for like all kinds of weird thought processes and emotions, whether you want to do that or not, because obviously it doesn't have like a massive impact on me, because it'll take another month or two until the 70 euros payout threshold is reached, so it's not important, and then it'll be 70 euros, right? It's not world-changing money by any stretch of the imagination, but even still, just at like logging on to check like comments, and the first thing I see is, hey, your account has gone up by this is awesome. And I'm like, okay, what does this do like below my rational control kind of level? And I think that is something that sometimes I can deal with it in better ways, and sometimes I struggle with it and get closer to falling for these numbers and trying to please the different like analytics tools and numbers in the YouTube app and the YouTube backend when on the browser and everything. And I just wanted to bring this up as sort of like a callback to the video from yesterday, how insidious that kind of stuff can be on that level, even though we kind of know better, and I'm aware of like how ridiculous that is, but it's still, as I said, like it is built to trigger all kinds of emotions and thoughts in that regard. So just something that came up, and we'll see. Obviously, nothing big will come of that. As I said, I'm not going to change the plans for the channel because suddenly a video made by €1, which, well, it's €1. But yeah, and I think that's the whole weird situation where I'm at with the channel. We're getting close to the end of the year. You start reflecting, like, have I done the things that I wanted to do? And so obviously I haven't. What with the Mormonism video not being done and the AI video not being done and all of that. So there's this weird feeling of failure in that regard, and just things taking so much longer than you think. Right at the beginning of the year, when I knocked out the tooth and got the whole like Pirate Winter thing, that whole situation is still not fully done, and it won't be done until next February is when the new tooth will be put in. And this, yeah, you know, it is weird. It feels weird, like how time has slowed down in this weird way, and at the same time, you look out, you watch the news or whatever, and everything else has sped up, and I don't know what to do about that, and I don't know how I feel about it. I have, since I broke the first sort of like temporary denture thing a while ago, and I got a new one which fits slightly better, which is why I'm wearing it while recording the video. I still feel it makes me slightly less understandable, less clear, my speech, but it, you know, it's a difference between, like, do I look weird because everyone can see that I have a tooth missing, or do I sound slightly weird? And for now, I'm going this direction. If you have problems with that, please let me know. Do I sound weird now that I use the temporary denture thing while waiting for my full tooth replacement? Or should I, you know, let me know. Because generally you know, you can't trust your own, like, perception of, like, recordings of your voice. One of the things that makes editing videos so hard is, like, you kind of have to hear your own voice in those situations, and, you know, you sound weird. I sound weird to myself when I hear myself, so thanks for actually listening to me, I guess. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I need to make a decision, and this is sort of your second call to action if you're interested in that. I am going to make a video announcing sort of like the whole reading order and stuff for for Carlmas, which will start obviously at Christmas and go to Epiphany. I have picked 12 out of the 13 books that we will be reading. There is like there's like 2 trilogies that are both set in the West, in the American West, and there's a 6-book cycle that is set in the Ottoman, or around the Ottoman Empire in the 19th century. And there's like one final book that I can pick, and I'm not quite sure which one to pick, because obviously I could pick another one set in the West, or another one set in around the Ottoman Empire. I could also pick something set in an entirely different place, which I'm somewhat careful, because it would make, kind of force me to look at yet another set of ridiculous, potentially racist stereotypes and historical stereotypes that are that need exploration and explanation, and that might be too much for the whole 13 books in 13 days kind of situation. Or I could pick one that is set in Karl May's home area, that being parts of eastern Germany around Saxony, the Ore Mountains, Erzgebirge area. And the benefit there would be that it's like one book where Karl May is actually talking about places he literally knows because he grew up there and has lived there, and we could compare or look at whether there's a comparison between his depiction of his home and foreign places. That might be one way to go as well, and I'm just not fully decided which way to jump. If you have opinions on that, let me know down below. Once I have that figured out, I'll try to find the English texts, or at least the English titles to all of these novels, and hopefully make a video where I can give you the list of books in case any of you plan on getting to read along or read some of them in preparation and so forth. And I'll try to do that once I've made that choice, so that decision. So if you have thoughts on that matter, then please let me know in the comments. If you have any other thoughts that you want to tell me, put them down in the comments. I do read everything, and I try to reply. I don't think I have more for now. I'm looking forward to making the video on Ballad of Black Tom. I've lots of thoughts on it. It will come very soon, and other stuff will also happen. So tell me what you did last week. Did you read good books? Did you read bad books? Did you do other cool things? Concerts, movies, play games? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe, do the common stuff. I don't know, do all the other things you could do here. But most importantly, be good people. I'll see you very soon, and until then, thanks and cheers.